Good morning. It's a snow day and I'm super excited. It hasn't started snowing yet, but I think that is a great auspicious sign for the work that we're going to be doing today. So you may have seen flyers or posts about the sexual sovereignty through self-pleasure PLAYSHOP that is today. And it's at 1 p.m. Eastern time. There is a ticket link in my bio, and I've had a lot of people sort of like asking questions about this event. Like they're a little hesitant, like, ooh, self-pleasure, I love that, but like in a group, what is that gonna look like? And I just want to make everyone aware that you don't have to have your video on if you're not comfortable. You don't even have to participate live. When you sign up for the tickets to any of my PLAYSHOPs or events, you're welcome to stop and start them. So let's say that you're in the middle of doing a tantric meditation and all of a sudden you're like, oh my God, I'm so overwhelmed. And you want to pull back, you can. Like, if you need to go lie down and be quiet and take care of yourself because something came up for you or whatever the reason is, you got uncomfortable, you were embarrassed, you can shut your camera off, you can, turn your mic off, you can even leave and come back. Like, once you sign up for the tickets in my bio, you get the link and it doesn't expire, you know what I mean? And then afterward, you get the recording as well of the PowerPoint that we go over and the live event. So there's really no reason not to sign up for it. Like, it doesn't matter if you're scared or you're like, oh, I don't know if I can. It's $5. It's like a latte. Even if you bought the latte and you didn't drink it and all you did was smell it and it brought you a little bit of pleasure, like you would still, right? You'd be like, that's not a waste of $5. Like what, These are sort of some core practices that I'm sharing in response to the last PLAYSHOP that we did, where I was hearing feedback from people saying they were really struggling with how to cultivate a sense of worthiness. I want to feel pleasure. Like, we can admit that, like, oh, pleasure, yeah, I want that, but how do I feel like I deserve it? Like, even when it's right there, how do I let myself receive it? And it's so challenging. I've battled this for years and years, and I've been studying human sexuality in these, mindfulness-based, spiritually based healing practices in alignment with that, because for years I wasn't able to be intimate with anyone else, like barely even with myself. Even my self-intimacy practices were really like sort of toxic and abusive and like bullying my body. And it's so hard to access the information of like, oh, it could be different. It doesn't have to be like this. I actually could make it whatever I wanted. And then from there it's like, oh, but now my imagination has become compromised. How do I envision and dream up something that is authentic, something that I am excited about, that's genuinely mine, if all I have are ideas that don't fit my body, that don't fit my experience of eroticism, that don't fit my definition of intimacy even. Like if I was relegated to only what mainstream sexuality has to offer, I would think I was asexual. I'm not kidding. I literally would fuck no one. I would date no one. If that was all that was available to me, I would have stayed shut down like I was 5 years ago, and I would have never like had another relationship. And these practices are sort of what allowed me to come back to myself, and also to receive, the gifts that my partners really desired to give, and that they had to give. Like, we sort of don't even notice or don't even realize always the resources and the support and the joy that people get when you're able to articulate like, oh, I've been so frustrated for so long, and I realize I've needed help in this one thing, and I haven't been able to ask for it, or haven't let myself ask for it. And how do we get to that place? And how do we name those things? How do we get the communication lines between our body and ourselves to be open when we spend so much of our time trying to suppress our appetite, trying to suppress our body's arousal, right? Don't get turned on in the wrong place at the wrong time, or looking at the wrong things, or you're going to be like, oh, shame meltdown over here, right? There's all these ways in which we've been conditioned to sort of spiral away from ourselves and spiral into like fear or blame or shame. And especially when it comes to our sexuality, especially when it comes to our bodies. Like, it's so hard. And especially now, I mean, how much did it mean to you to be able to like get dressed up? I don't know how many people did this. I loved doing this. You know, if I was feeling really sad and like maybe someone had misgendered me recently and I was just feeling like invisible and like ugly and gross, and I would just like put on the most like handsome outfit that I had, like something that made like me feel like as me as possible, and then going out or sharing space with someone and just having them be like, dude, you look good, like your mustache looks great today, your hair looks so handsome, like whatever it is, like just spending time, you know, or even like just go, I don't even drink, but sometimes I would just go to a bar and I just like talk to people, you know, and just be like, wow, you've an incredibly expressive face. Has anybody ever told you that? I really appreciate like how enthusiastic you are. Or, you know, your eyes are so beautiful, and you hold eye contact with me, and like almost nobody is brave enough to do that these days. And like, that means so much. You know, all of these like micro things that we used to be able to do to connect with other people, they're not available to us anymore. And maybe that's a good thing. Okay, bear with me. I know you're sick of it. You're tired of the masks. I am too. I don't want to do it anymore, but I'm still doing it because safety. But isn't this sort of a good thing, right? Because hasn't it shown us that maybe going out to the bar wasn't the type of connection that you were really craving because you just got sad and lonely, or whatever it is? You know, I think that there's a lot of space and we can make a lot of room for these kinds of connections that we've actually been craving, the things that actually are genuine, that actually feel connected and vulnerable, but not in a way that feels exposed. Vulnerable as in like, I'm a complete person and I'm showing up wholly, and, you know, and I don't feel judged, and isn't that beautiful and amazing? And, you know, being able to really receive, give and receive. So no, this is not a group masturbation class. I would like to open the doors to that in 2021, but that's only going to be available to people who have already attended my foundational courses. I'm not going to open up a vulnerable and potentially chaotic experience like that, right? Because sexual energy is super intense. And if we're going to be so vulnerable that we're self-pleasuring, like in an explicit way together, we're going to need some foundational knowledge. So that is something that I'm working on for the 2021, but that's not what this class is. I encourage you to wear anything that feels comfy. It's not going to be a nude practice. You don't have to have your screen on. We're really just gonna kind of connect as a group, do some like fun, silly things to loosen up, and then dive in with a little bit of like, these are the things that we agree on in this space. This is the premise we're working from. And then we dive into the actual sensory exploration things. And I'm super excited because I'm going to be including some writing and journaling and somatic poetry exercises. If you're not a writer, it doesn't matter. You can access this, and I think you'll be surprised at how good you are at it. It's not as hard as regular poetry. And by that, I mean it's harder if you actually know how to write poems to write somatic poetry. That's how I'm experiencing it anyway. Because somatic poetry is trying to divest language from grammar, divest language from your like conscious, like, oh my God, I'm excited for it too. I'm glad you agree. Somatic poetry is like blowing my mind. It's so fucking amazing. It's literally like the key to all of this movement stuff that I've been doing and all of the things that I've been learning. And it brings everything together in this way that's like, not gonna lie, it shakes me every time I do it. So like, be prepared to be gentle with yourself for the rest of the day. Like, and like I said, if you get overwhelmed in the minute, go take a break, come back, or don't do the video later. That's also totally okay. This is a completely trauma-informed space. You're allowed to do what you need to do for you in this moment. And if something is triggering for you, you don't even have to communicate it to me. You don't owe me an apology. You don't owe me an explanation. If you want someone to be like, it's okay, and you need that affirmation, like, hey, it's all right. You know, no judgment. Whatever you can absorb today is plenty. You can tell me and I'm happy to give that to you. But you also don't have to, right? This is take what you want and leave what you don't. I'm not here as a to grade you. You will not be receiving. This is not pass or fail. That's not right. That's not what's happening. So, and I promise that I won't drop my laptop like I just dropped my phone. Anyway, that's all I have for y'all. If you have any other questions, feel free to send me a DM. I am going to be working on the material. The last moment that you could possibly sign up for tickets, I think, is 12:30. So don't miss that, or you won't get the link to join us. And you really need that. Because I won't be able to check my phone or anything. I'll be completely present during the workshop with the people that choose to join. So you should totally come. I'm trying to do one of these events every single month. I so far have really loved it. Everyone has been really, really receptive and authentic about anything I say. If you don't like it, you're allowed to disagree with me. You're allowed to ask me questions and be like, where did you cite that source from? Where, you're allowed to question anything I say. You're allowed to disagree. You're allowed to say, I don't want to do that. You are in complete control of this experience. So it's really, I'm doing this for you. I'm doing this because these things have completely changed my life. And I'm not saying that it's over, right? I'm not saying I never get triggered in intimacy. That's just not realistic. You might always have a little bit of oh, I feel it coming on. But the trick is figuring out how to name it at the beginning. The sooner that you feel something coming on and you can name it and be like, oh, pause, I'm leaving my body. Hold on. What are my grounding techniques? What gets me back in, right? It's a spiral. And we can catch it in the beginning, and then it doesn't have to take us all the way down, right? It's definitely a different way of working through your memories and experiences if you're in a space where you're actually held, where you have permission to come and go, where you have permission to speak up for yourself, to want whatever you want. We don't get to these places with other people by accident. It's not about who you were dating, right? It's not that your high school boyfriend was just a complete fucking idiot. Probably he was, because he was only watching Pornhub, and it's completely a false representation of what intimacy looks like, right? Maybe it was a result of poor education, but it was also the fact that we don't know really well. We're never taught how to self-advocate. We just go along with what we think, oh, this is supposed to feel good, right? I'm supposed to make a face now, right? It's so performative, especially in the beginning of our lives and the development of our sexual selves, because we don't have access to this foundational education. I wish that somebody had come to me when I got my period at 10 years old. Why? I don't know. Why did I get it I don't know. I was just fat, and so my hormones happened early, whatever. I wish somebody had given me a vibrator at 10 years old and been like, hey, I want you to sort of spend some time figuring out what feels good for your body. Please don't hurt yourself over and over again by trying to allow other people to figure your body out, because it's going to be a bad time. Really wish someone had told me that, right? And had just been like, hey, did you know that self-pleasuring is this totally safe way to explore and play, and that it has no risks really at all? Or you might get tired after. That's the only bad thing that happens when you come too much, right? That's totally different than oh, I opened myself up to a bunch of people who either traumatized me directly, outright, or micro-traumatized me because I consented or participated in and allowed something to go on that I really wasn't into. Because not for nothing, but every single time that we do that, every single time that we go along with something when our body is this isn't pleasure, this is either pain or discomfort, you are getting further disconnected from what pleasure actually means to you. You're getting further disconnected from what it actually is that you want. And it makes it that much harder when you are in with another person to advocate. If you can't advocate even when you're alone, how are you supposed to advocate when there's another person there, right? So we are going to spend some intentional time alone with ourselves, alone with our bodies, really listening deeply for what it is that we need and desire, what would actually bring true fulfillment out of our intimate and sexual relationships. How do we even want to be related to? All of these things. You're going to get a lot of take-home stuff too. I'm even including a full I've never done this before. Usually it's $200 to get any individual one erotic film that I've created. I'm not kidding. I price it that way because I spend a lot of fucking time and hard work, and I'm shooting all this by myself. Okay. I don't have a whole production team, right? And it is the utmost vulnerable thing for me, because it is my definition of intimacy with my body and with nature as an ecosexual, non-binary human being. So it's a big deal for me to be giving that away and to be inviting people to experience that. And I'm excited to hear what you think. And I think that hopefully it will inspire you to do some authentic exploring on your own. And you'll have lots of like resources and stuff to take home that'll encourage and support that journey. But yeah, that's all I have for you. I'm super excited. This is the first time I'm teaching this class digitally. I've only ever taught this in an in-person workshop. So super excited. And yeah, these are the kinds of things every month I do these for Patreons. So you can either buy a one-time ticket for $11 or you can sign up for $5 a month and you get tickets every single month and you get access to all of the other shit that I post on Patreon, which is like all my film stuff, all the behind the scenes stuff, all of my writing, poetry prompts, readings, artist reference sets, literally everything you can think of. Because I love you. Okay, that's all I have. Shoot me any questions if there's anything that I missed, okay? I can't wait to see you later.